Grizzlies fans, it is the home opener. It is the season opener. The Grizzlies are taking on the New Orleans Pelicans today at FedEx Forum at 7 p.m. I am joined by Will Guillory, and I'm so excited because we just said, Will, we always say like you save the best for last, but we're starting off with Chef's Kiss, the best reporter out there. Thank you for coming on.
We gotta start off hot. Gotta start the season off on the right foot. That's what I say.
And that's why you're here. Let's talk about Grizzlies Pelicans because I think going into the Grizzlies season, and I'm a little blue saying this, the injury list needs to be discussed. From the Grizzlies side, obviously John Morant is out for the first 25, so won't be playing tonight. Steven Adams, it just got announced that he will be out indefinitely, along with Brandon Clark, who is also out for the season. And then just yesterday, it was announced that Santi Aldama is out. I think he's day to day with an ankle. So that leaves us pretty thin when it comes to bigs. Well, we're getting a little thin down there. Not anything crazy from the Pelican side. I guess Jose Alvarado is out, Najee Marshall and Trey Murphy. In terms of your starting lineup, though, tonight, everyone's looking pretty good, right? So you have three guys right now who essentially averaged more than 20 or more points last year. The Grizzlies have just one in Desmond Bane. How do they look in the preseason? How's that starting five?
Yeah, as it turns out, breaking news: Zion Williamson is playing basketball tonight. It's actually happening in real life. Yeah, Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram, they're all putting on jerseys. They're playing basketball, so that's going to be something new for the Pelicans. Actually, getting that big three on the court, seeing what those guys look like. They only played 10 games together last year, trying to build up that chemistry. But it's going to be tough for them, not having Trey Murphy, the top 3-point shooter on the team. Jose Alvarado, the backup point guard. So the bench is going to be really thin, but they're excited about that starting five, having those guys out there, just having that explosiveness back and just seeing what Z looks like in year five. He's coming in with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Hasn't been very Zion-like in his conversations with the media. Not a whole lot of smiles, not a whole lot of stories about Biggie or Jay-Z. Very business-like.
Okay.
So I think he's coming in focused and ready to go. And yeah, I think they're looking forward to going up against a Grizzlies front line that's missing a bunch of their main guys.
Oh, that maturity is coming to town. Okay, Zion. Look, you talked a lot about offense there. Like it's the starting five who has such scoring power coming into this season. It is evident in what those three guys can do. And I mean, not even just those three. Like CJ McCollum is a Grizzlies. He always comes in here, and I think we talked about it last year. No matter what jersey he
Yes.
has on, he comes in here and he's like, wow, 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 wow. I'm like, okay, 50 points later. But I want to talk about defense because the Grizzlies have talked all preseason about how they will be a defensive minded team. I looked at the Pelicans last year. They were sixth in defensive rating. However, they were the absolute worst in the league in defending at the rim. So I think they
Mm-hmm.
let a team score 67% within 5 feet. I think it's 5 feet what you measure at. However, they allowed the lowest percentage in 3 point. The Grizzlies want to shoot 3-pointers this year. I mean, we saw that with Steven Adams out in that last preseason game. They have Luke, they have Dez, they have a bunch of guys who want to shoot threes. They have Marcus Smart. Does defense worry you going into this first game?
No, I think it's going to be a big emphasis. You put it perfectly for both teams. I think for the Pels, that's pretty much the foundation of who they are. They're a defensive team. Wood Herb Jones, Dyson Daniels is a big part of that. And I think you mentioned them giving up a higher percentage at the rim, but a big part of who they are is not allowing a whole lot of shots at the rim. JV isn't much of a shot blocker, but he's a big body. He knows how to keep people out of the paint. That's a big part of who they want to be defensively, and they also want to be a team that gets out in the passing lanes, gets steals, gets deflections, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how you get Zion and those guys in transition. So that's a big part of who this team wants to be. And just like the Grizz, the Pelicans are the same mindset. They want to get more threes up. They want to be more explosive on offense this year. Without Trey, we'll see how that goes because they don't have a whole lot of dudes who can fill it up from behind the arc. But they want to get those shots up. They want to create that space for Zion because we know every time he gets the ball, he's going to have 2, 3 people in his way. And I think for Memphis, they've in the past they've done a really good job of defending Zion with the way they can kind of put one guy directly in front of him and then having Jaren Jackson on that back line defending the rim. So I think that's something to keep an eye on. That battle between Jaren and Zion at the rim. That's something I've identified in the past. I love watching these two teams play because those are pretty much the two best guys at what they do. Zion is the best at getting into the rim, and Jaren is the best at preventing guys from making shots at
It's
the rim.
funny you bring that up because not this past media day, last media day, I asked Jared, I was like, the one person who you have not blocked, who you want to block is fill in the blank. And he was like, Zion. Like, I want to see what that could be. We also know, like you mentioned, someone will be on Zion and then Jared will be kind of that anchor in the back. Xavier Tillman Sr. will play a lot of minutes today. Like I said, the big spot just has a lot of minutes to be filled now with Steven and Santi out. This is so random, but he guarded Zion in the NCAA tournament and did a really good job on him. He hasn't had a ton of minutes with him or against him in the NBA. But in terms of like how this Pelicans team is going to score, like you added Cody Zeller, like you mentioned, bring Herb Jones back. You've got NCAA champ Jordan Hawkins. You have those 3-4 guys who are 20+ point per game guys going up against Jaren Jackson Jr., who swats everything away. Marcus Smart, who is another Defensive Player of the Year Hustle Award winner, who you guys haven't seen in a Grizzlies jersey yet. Is there concern that passively a really good defense may mitigate that really good offense?
Yeah, for sure. Because the Pelicans, brought in a new offensive coordinator and James Borrego. They're switching up some of the things they're doing on at that end. They want to be a little less stagnant. They want to introduce more off-ball movement, more off-ball screening. I think last year you saw a lot of times where Zion to get the ball and it would be everybody just pretty much standing around watching him. And
I
the
would
Pelicans
too, if I was on a team with
Yeah,
Zion.
I mean it's pretty fun watching him. When he has the ball. I can't lie, but they want everybody kind of moving. They want to take advantage of defenses that are focusing that much attention on Z. And I think you saw through the preseason, they kind of went through struggles because it's very different from what they did last year. And they're still kind of learning the spots to be in, how to not run into each other, how to not get in Zion's way. So I think going against a really good defense, probably going to be times tonight where it gets a little rough for them. They got to get through some rough patches to figure it out. But again, when you have that much firepower on the court, I think they'll be able to figure it out there. They'll get out the way and let Z and BI do their thing. But I do think it's probably going to take a couple weeks for the Pels to figure out who they want to be on offense, what it's going to look like. And this is going to be a really good test for them in game one. Because like you mentioned, they got 2 Defensive Player of the Years over there. So those guys know how to defend. I feel like every time the Pels come here to Memphis, we talk about it, they end up being down by 20 in the first quarter. So that's going to be a challenge for them, not letting some of the pass horrors and FedEx Forum get to them. So, yeah, this is going to be a fun matchup for them.
Funny you bring that up. Well, the last 6 matchups between these two franchises have been won by the home team.
Yeah. And here, when we're in Memphis, it definitely feels like I watch them get stomped out more times than not. So, yeah, it's going to be tough. A lot of times that's because of John Morant, doing 360 windmills and stuff. So he won't be there to punish him. So that's one good thing for the Pels. But yeah, it's definitely gonna be. This is the Grizzlies are a really tough team to beat when they're playing at home. That crowd gets into those dudes hustle to get out in transition. So it's gonna be a big test for the Pels just to not fall into that hole, so they can kind of have a chance to win it in the fourth quarter.
Okay, real quick before we go, one matchup to watch. Who are you most looking forward to?
We talked about it. I think that Zion versus Xavier Tillman / Jaren Jackson on the back line. How can the Pels kind of crack that code, get Z to the rim? That's going to be key just because you got to be able to get to the rim and score points if you're going to beat the Grizzlies.
Will Guillory, everybody, thank you very much. I appreciate you very, very, very much. Listen,
it's all downhill from here. The rest of the guests, they can't beat this. So
Mr.
sorry for y'all.
Here, everyone else trickles down. The pregame show, everyone, if you're watching, it is 1 whole hour today. It starts at 6 p.m. on Bally Sports, so make sure you're watching that. And then the game tips off at 7. Mr. Guillory, I will see you there.
I will see you there. Appreciate you.